Next, from the state capitol, we go to a Senate committee hearing testimony on raising the cigarette tax. The increase was intended to bring in $700 million to the state as part of an effort to stop the explosive growth in Medicaid costs. This runs about 20 minutes.
Senator Schoenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I ask that the committee concur with House Amendments 2 and 3 to Senate Bill 2194. This sweeping proposal has three key elements, and they are briefly, one, an increase in cigarette taxes by $1 to $1.98 per pack. There are also some other increases for cigarette and tobacco-related products. That generate $350 million to go to the Healthcare Provider Relief Fund, which, when matched with available federal Medicaid dollars, will provide $700 million towards healthcare, towards meeting the healthcare needs of the underserved in our communities. The second component is provides a far greater degree of certainty and stability for Illinois' over 200 hospitals in what is necessary to earn tax exemption, and spells out what is required of them in the way of charity care in order to do that. There are 6 criteria which are spelled out in order to achieve the property tax exemption. There's a new sales tax exemption for personal property that's sold or used by a not-for-profit that owns at least one hospital, and that there's also an income tax credit, which is new, that provides for-profit hospitals, investor-owned hospitals with a means of making their own contributions so as to ensure that they too are helping serve those who are less fortunate. Finally, the third component is a supplemental hospital assessment program which enhances our current hospital assessment program that will generate $50 million net, or $100 million gross when we receive the matching federal funds for the Healthcare Provider Relief Fund. The key difference in this hospital assessment, in this enhanced hospital assessment, is that the formula is pegged on outpatient care as opposed to inpatient care, which is the one that we're more familiar with. But the overriding principle remains the same, and that is its redistribution of resources to those institutions which serve high numbers of individuals in our communities without health insurance. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Senator. Only Director Hasbrook is seeking to testify in favor of the bill. Would you like to have him testify, Senator?
Please.
Director. Welcome to the Senate Executive Committee.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, good afternoon. Very briefly, tobacco prevention is a tenet of public health and has been for many years. There are no safe levels of exposure to either first, second, or third-hand cigarette smoke, and tobacco-related health conditions are the #1 cause for preventable and premature deaths. So given this, we are strong proponents of this legislation and other strategies which may lead to decrease in tobacco use. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the sponsor or the proponent witness, Senator Rodonio?
It's not so much a question as a comment. I don't disagree with you that cigarettes are bad, and quite frankly, maybe we ought to ban them if they're obviously so bad for everyone. What we object to is only one part of this bill. I certainly think that the outlines of the charity care proposal to accommodate hospitals with respect to the property tax is a good thing. We've supported the hospital assessment before. But with respect to the tax, the problem that I personally have, and I suspect others on this side of the aisle, and it will come as no surprise, there's some opposition over here to the cigarette tax, is the continued approach of just more revenue, more revenue. I mean, I have to ask, if $7 billion in new income tax wasn't enough to solve the problem, what's another $300 million? And as you know, there's other tax proposals out there, so it's really more of a difference in philosophy and approach of just continuing to try to look for revenue in every way that we possibly can, rather than, looking for other ways to contract the budget, or in this case, maybe even reallocate from other places in the budget to get some money in order to get Medicaid match. So I'll be voting no on it for that reason and that reason alone, and I want to thank you for accommodating our request to go through the committee process. This is an important bill. It's a controversial one. We've certainly worked with you on waiving postings on things that aren't controversial, so I do appreciate, even though we're late in the process, that you did that. Thanks.
Why don't we hear from the opponents then, if there are no further questions? Mr. Fleischle, Mr. Shattuck, do you want to come to the witness table?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'm Bill Fleischle. I'm the Executive Vice President of the Illinois Petroleum Marketers Association, the Illinois Association of Convenience Stores. I represent 4,000 facilities doing business in every county in the state of Illinois. We employ probably between 25 and 30,000 people. I have concerns about this. One is a study that we've shared with you before by Rajiv Goel, a PhD economic professor at the Illinois State University. He says that there will be a decrease of 20% sales at our facilities. Now, that's already down 30% since 2002. A C-store sales will be declined by 90 million packs. That's an average of about $16,000 a facility. Our customers will go to the internet, they will go to illegal vendors, they'll also do cross-border activities, and they will buy other items, gasoline, milk, and other things like that. An example of cross-border activity, Quincy, Illinois has 40,000 people in the marketing area. They have 33 retail locations that sell cigarettes. They average about 10,000 cartons a month. Across the river in Taylor, Missouri, a population of 200 has 8 retail locations that sell cigarettes. They sell 51,000 cartons, 500,000 packs a month. These numbers mean that people will move for money. Please remember other expenses that have been put on us in the last several years. We pay the highest minimum wage in the Midwest. Our fees and licenses are one of the highest in the Midwest. We have the highest taxes on gasoline in the Midwest. And we've just survived, or just trying to survive, an income tax increase that we had last year. The C-store industry is a major employer in Illinois, and the tax increase will put facilities out of business. It will remove $350 million of economic activity from the state. It will cost jobs. I wish you'd reconsider, and stop this enormous tax increase. The retail community doesn't want it, and the smokers of Illinois are already paying more than their fair share. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Shattuck?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Executive Committee. Jay Shattuck, representing RYO Machines Limited. I've been before this committee on several occasions to discuss other legislation, Senate Bill 29 and House Bill 5040, that we had issues with. The provisions of Senate Bill 2194 is very similar to the provisions that were in the previous bills, except a couple very important changes, and it's the tax level changes. The tax for RYO products will be going up to nearly tripling the cigarette costs, as well as the loose leaf tobacco being doubled in taxation. Our product will go from roughly $25 on average for 200 cigarettes to well over $60 per cigarettes in the state. We believe that this is an unfair situation, that the regulations, as I've previously stated in other testimony, will cause our machines to essentially not be allowed to be used in the state. So I know whatever the Department of Revenue, I believe the last number I heard was $10 million in revenue that would be generated from our machines will be illegal. As we pointed out before, the fire-safe tube requirement is something that we can't or will not be able to comply with. The packaging and labeling requirements is something that will be impossible for our products to meet. And although it does not, as in the original form that was introduced in the Senate, does not require us to get a manufacturer's license, The implications based on the licensing will lead to us to have a federal manufacturing license, and our machines will not be legal in the state of Illinois. Therefore, I don't think you're going to get any revenues from our machines in the future because those machines will be illegal. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions for the opponents? Senator Ryder.
Actually, for the sponsor, based on the opponent's testimony, if I might.
For the sponsor, certainly.
Thank you. Senator Schoenberg, I'll ask you to comment on Mr. Shattuck's testimony on the issue that the language in the bill that you've added to your legislation, which obviously was Senator Link's roll your own bill, that it will require these folks to get a license which is not available from the federal government right now, therefore it's going to put them out of business. What's your response to that?
It's my anticipation that at some point this license will indeed be available. What the timing is on being able to obtain that license, that I can't speak to. One other thing that I would also like to speak to with respect not only to those who sell these machines, but to the other opponents who represent gas stations and convenience stores. If there are 25 to 30,000 people who are in the universe, people who are employed, I could probably count on both hands the number who are receiving health care from their employers, who are getting health insurance. All of them, virtually all of them, are out at an hourly wage, and they're more likely than not Medicaid eligible, and they're going to emergency rooms, and they're going to other Medicaid eligible community-based settings to get their health care. So you can argue that this creates a burden, but on the other hand, it's an even greater burden on all of us that all of these hourly wage employees don't have health care at all, and that they rely upon Medicaid and the institutions that are reimbursed through Medicaid in order to get their health care.
Senator Ryder, do you have another question?
Yeah, I'm sure that was an answer to some question, just not mine. The language in your bill will require those who have the roll your own machines to become federally licensed. That license is not available now, Senator Schoenberg. You're basing a $10 million revenue estimate off of people who will not be in business.
Senator Ryder, I think Mr. Nicholson from the department may be able to shed some light on that. I think he's consulting with his folks, and if one of you gentlemen could give him your seat at the table, we'll ask Mr. Nicholson from the department to testify. Mr. Nicholson, have you already filled out a witness slip? I did not read all the folks not planning to testify. If you could afterwards, that would be great. Thank you.
That was fun to watch.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. Jim Nicholson with the Department of Revenue. Senator Ryder, there's nothing in the legislation that requires a federal license.
There's nothing in the legislation that can be read as to require a federal license.
No, it would require a state license. There's not a federal license requirement that they would not be able to obtain, no.
Are they going to be, will they be construed as manufacturers under this bill?
No, they will not.
They will not.
They will be cigarette machine operators.
I wonder if we could have Mr. Shattuck back up, Mr. Chairman, but I think that he has a disagreement with that.
Can I just say one thing that, in all due respect, that is not true about the health care. When an employee becomes permanent, he receives health care at our facilities. Now, we have 105% turnover in some of those hourly wages.
All right. I think we're on to a different topic here. We appreciate that. So, Mr. Shattuck.
I would agree with Jim Nicholson's comments in the regards that there's nothing specifically that says that in the law, in this proposal, that says that you have to have a federal manufacturer's license as the original bill did. But the implications of the definitions and what is required of the RYO retailers to do, in effect, will require from the federal level for you to have a manufacturer's license.
Mr. Shattuck, you testified in your initial round of testimony that the bill would require you to have a federal license that wasn't available.
Yes, and that's due to federal litigation. There's a federal injunction currently in place.
But is Mr. Nicholson right that there's nothing in the bill that requires you to have a federal license?
There's nothing in the law that's going to require us to get a federal license. However, we feel that the impact of the bill will require us to get a federal license based on federal interpretation.
Perhaps if you'd been more clear about that in your first round of testimony, we wouldn't have been going through this detour. Senator Ryder, is that? Senator Ryder, did you have anything more? That's it. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Senator Crotty then moves that the committee recommend the full Senate do adopt Senator Schoenberg's motion to concur in House Amendments 2 and 3 to Senate Bill 2194, seconded by Senator Trotter. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Radogno? No. Senator Murphy? No. Senator Luchtefeld? Senator Jones? Senator Brady? Senator Ryder? No. Senator Trotter? Senator Schoenberg? Aye. Senator Munoz? Aye. Senator Lightford? Aye. President Cullerton? Aye. Senator Crotty? Aye. Senator Claiborne? Aye. Senator Silverstein? Aye. Senator Harman?
Aye. That question, there are 9 voting aye, 5 voting no, and the motion will be so 4 voting no, I apologize. 4 voting no, the motion will be so reported.
You're watching the Illinois Channel, an independent nonprofit corporation formed to provide gavel-to-gavel coverage of Illinois state government and other public affairs events taking place across Illinois.